Hey, welcome back to Veterans Rant, Rattle, and Roll. I'm Sergeant First Class Retired David L. Parker, your host. And I'd like to welcome you to the third episode of the book I wrote, Forgotten Truckers, based on the journals that I wrote during this period of time. As you can see, things have changed. I've moved more into my podcasting area versus the studio. Just want to relax and be able to talk to you about what really happened. So far, we've talked about Fort Drum, volunteering / people being voluntold. We've talked about the wonderful adventure of leaving there and going to Fort Bliss, Texas. Sorry, Fort Hood. And nobody expecting us, wanting us, nothing. They were just like, why are you here? And then we've talked about the training or lack of training, the debacle of the kindergarten level training that was given to us. We've talked about how that felt and the sensation. And now we've flown across the world, and we've landed in Kuwait. So we're on March 30th. Maybe it's the 31st, right? And I read the first entry of 2135, remember, from the last episode. But let's read the next entry on that day. Now, remember, we've just landed in Kuwait. We've gone through some stuff. We've had our fun stuff. Entry. Headed to a Farajan Air Base. Okay, barracks again. Huge base. More reservists in charge here. A 4-hour line at the PX. So what? I didn't bring any money. Sleeping in bunks with plastic still on the mattresses. First sergeant going crazy, yelling about not taking off the plastic. How he would not let us nasty people sleep on one of his beds in his house or some shit. Everyone is in the same bay. Men, women, officer enlisted. That's a new one. More briefs tomorrow, they say. Well, no shit. End of entry. Now, I remember that first sergeant was adamantly crazy about don't take the plastic off the mattresses. I was an old E5 at the time, and I was like, man, that's hot. Think about it. This is Kuwait, end of March, beginning of April. It ain't cold. But, hey, he made the call. You know, maybe I'd have made the same call. We're only going to be there for a day. Pull out your whoopee. Do your thing, right? I don't know why that bugged me so much. It did. It just drove me crazy that he did that, I guess. I don't really even know why it did. Now, I remember we ended up getting sent to the DFAC, right? To get some number 10 cans for butt cans, right? Because the first sergeant, is not going to allow us to use the butt cans that are at the transient barracks because they belong to somebody else. What the hell? It's just one of those funny things that you remember. Why can't I use the butt can right here? Why I got to go get a new butt can? Because it might belong to somebody. What the hell? Let's move on. All right, let's move into April 2003. We're going to be talking about Kuwait and Iraq. And, of course, I labeled it in the book. Wait, what? Who's in charge? All right, April 1st, entry. Good chow, nice camp, great gym, and barracks. People outside are getting a tan in lawn chairs. Someone forgot to tell them we're in a war zone. Damn pogues. First sergeant still won't act like a leader. He has us marching around the base everywhere we go like it's basic training all over again. Everyone else is in buddy teams. A command sergeant major come running out to the formation, screaming at the formation, this is a combat zone, you're making a huge target. He yelled at the first sergeant, told him maybe he should go back to Fort Benning and be a drill sergeant. He has no business here. I laughed too loud. I got dropped. Don't care. It was worth it. They are splitting us up. 12 of us will stay here. Everyone else is going to 3rd ID. As for the 10th Mountain Boys, only 3 of us will be staying together. The staff sergeant and sergeant from 214 and myself are going to be with the 101st Airborne. Couldn't sleep well last night. Woke up at 0200 to discover one of the guys and girls were having sex in a bunk, 2 over for me and 1 down. They were trying to be quiet. I didn't say anything. Just rolled over. You got to hand it to an infantryman. Nothing will stop him from trying. End of entry. I don't believe I could have got more excited about getting away from somebody in my life. Well, maybe a divorce. Nope, not even a divorce. I mean, I was so excited, so happy to get away from this group of people. It's not their fault. It was just a situation that nobody could understand. I couldn't understand it. I didn't know what we were going to do. I was worried that I would have to go and sling bullets with these people. Again, not trying to be offensive to them. I just didn't know them, right? It was just crazy. You know, I think back about the soldiers having sex. That was crazy. It was, but I get it. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like the movie Independence Day. You don't want to die a virgin, do you? I doubt that's what it was. But hey, what are you going to do, right? April 2nd, next entry. Bags outside, 0630 ride is coming for us at 11. Yep, I'm escaping these people, but not before they have a few more games to play. I see. End of entry. So you got the 3 10th Mountain guys are going to hang together. And now we're all outside the barracks because, hurry up and wait doesn't care about zip code. Hurry up and wait doesn't care about country code either, right? Absolutely doesn't. Next entry, 0930. Scuttle alarm goes off. I never put my mask on faster in my life. I blew the CTC Common Task Training Manual standard in half. Everyone runs into the building, then into the bay. All the leaders are up against the walls. No one is accounting for the soldiers. Myself and the sergeant from 214 do it. We also have everyone prove that they have not lost their injectors, just in case. Everybody's accounted for. After all is clear was sounded, First Sergeant grabbed me and said, just because I didn't tell you to account for anybody doesn't mean I didn't know it needed to be done. Sergeant! I just walked away saying whatever in my head. He hid under the bed because he was scared to death. Buses are being delayed. Sergeant First Class R is with us. He is a good leader. He asked the 12 of us if we all had CQC, close quarter combat training. Most said no. He asked us 10th Mountain boys to hold some training. 1,600 buses here headed to Camp Dari. End of entry. Okay, so I'm excited. I'm getting away. But I still think about that first sergeant, literally grabbing me. Now, I ain't the littlest guy in the world. And he wasn't the biggest motherfreaker in the world either. So I definitely could have defended myself. But without a chain of command, I'd have probably been in a world of crap real fast. It wasn't worth it. You know what I mean? Sometimes smacking somebody who you know scared, just get shit on your hands, right? The sergeant first class, he's pretty smart. We're clearing rooms. And I know, and there's not a problem, not offended by it, no offense to him, that he's doing it because he's rusty. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. Aren't you okay with that? You get some good training. As a senior retired NCO, I'd have done the same thing. As a matter of fact, over the next 6 deployments, we're doing this kind of training every time we have downtime. So this becomes pretty normal, right? Anyway, let's move on. Next entry, April 3rd, because that night we drove to Camp Dari. It's Tent City. We are moving to Camp Virginia. Still, no one knows what we are to be doing. Holy hell, the 3rd ID guys are staying here. They are not moving forward. Haha, First Sergeant got what he deserves. 6 months of police call in the Kuwait desert. The 12 of us are headed out to link up with the 101st Airborne. I was just handed orders to 3rd to 502nd Infantry. What are the odds? Desert Shield and Storm with 3rd to 50 Deuce, and now Iraqi Freedom. Damn it! Was just informed we are going to be driving trucks for the next 30 days. Then we will link up with the units we are on orders to. I'm going to play 88 Mike, but I'd rather do that here than be at Fort Drum. End of entry. So being informed I was going to drive a truck, at least while it was annoying, at least I had a job. Because I didn't know. Maybe my first sergeant was right. Maybe I was going to be a coffee guy. And I didn't want to be left in Kuwait. I mean, the odds that the fact these other people got left in Kuwait was just sort of rough. Now, every time you move to a camp, they're stretched out across the Kuwaiti desert. You've been there, right? If you haven't, they're just everywhere. And you're riding in these buses. You can't open the blinds. They try to act like the Army's not here, right? Talk about political bullshit. And we're just moving from camp to camp. They really didn't know where to take us. They had an idea what they wanted to do, but they didn't know what to take us, right? Next entry, April 4th. Now you're saying to yourself, wow, how'd you go 3 days? We sat around. So we get to Kuwait. We stay at that one barracks, right, where the Scud thing happened. We stayed there for a day, 24 hours, just sitting there, doing some training in the hallways, nothing. You go to the DFAC, I wasn't hungry much, smoke a few cigarettes, watch people at the swimming pool, go to the gym, nothing. You're just waiting for the time to pass. Then you get on a bus the next day, and you spend hours on the bus, and they literally take us to 3 or 4 camps before we end up at the right camp for that day. And you start all over because you get off the bus, and they're like, go to the tents. Remember, the main force has already left. They're already in Iraq. This is ghost tent city. There's nobody around. Nobody's expecting us. And there's nobody around. So, yeah, I still don't have any bullets. I still don't have any water that I'm not finding on my own. We're all doing this. It's just part of what we're doing. right? So let's go. April 4th, next entry. Moved to Camp, Pennsylvania for truck driver training and to be issued a truck. Then who knows where to next. I got a 5-ton. I have a TC who's a PFC from Hawaii. So we drove around the camp most of the day, then back to Camp Dari for our driving course. Then we got into long lines of trucks, going to drive into Iraq tomorrow. I think I'm carrying what looks to be mail and burn barrels. Made a hammock out of the tarp on the truck for some sleep. Now, end of entry. So it's like, take us all to this motor pool. Now, I use that word very loosely. Spot in the desert. And pick a truck. We pick a truck. Tame up because there's an even number of trucks and an even number of us. So you just got who you got. Because, again, nobody's really in charge. So then it's like, okay, here's how you PMCS it, which must have took 20 seconds. Basically, here's where the oil goes, and here's where you get the filter cleaned out to get the sand out of the truck. Oh, okay. And then we drove around the camp, and around the camp, and around the camp, and around the camp, and around the camp. Look, I could say this for 15 more minutes because I'm telling you, that's how boring it was. And around the camp. And it's just like, I don't even know what to do. Now, I was just so blown away. You just drove around for hours around this camp learning how to do it. Okay, I'm going to stop beating that to death. Now, next entry. We parked our trucks in this long line. Like I said, we're going to be driving into Iraq tomorrow. There are a few kilometers of driving inside the camp. I already said that, okay. 345 miles from the Kuwait border to Baghdad. At least we knew that. We all hoped that someone in this group knew how to change a tire, for they didn't train us on that, let alone anything more than how to start the trucks. So I and the staff sergeant from 214 walk up this line of trucks, seems to go on for miles, till we found a large tent with a lot of people in it and a map where we could see. I went to see if I could find out what we were about to do. I guess since I was wearing a 10th Mountain patch of CSM near the door, placed his hand on my chest, guided me back out of the tent. As he stopped me, he asked me what I want. And I was like, I don't know. We're here. And he said, go away. End of entry. I got more notes about this. What actually happened is he put his hand on me and said, who are you guys? You know, because we're wearing patrol caps and we're not in their uniform. Because how do we know? We don't know what their uniform is. And he sees the patch, like I said. And we're like, we're the detail. And he says that. Well, you're a detail. You're not part of the convoy. You're just following. Go back to your trucks. Now listen, we still don't have any ammo. We don't have any water. We don't have nothing. We're just 16 trucks in the back of this convoy, and I'm telling you that it's kilometers long. This thing is long. There was 700 vehicles in this convoy. Now, if you've ever been in a run that's a division level and the slinky effect, can you imagine what the slinky effect in our future is for driving these trucks? 700 vehicles, and we're dead last. And we got no ammo, no water, no nothing. Now, in my notes, it even says, I asked the Sergeant Major, we don't have any ammo or food in our vehicles. And he said, well, Sergeant, that is something we need to work out now, isn't it? That's his answer. I knew at that moment there was going to be a long, hard detail for sure. So what do? We go out and we walk the tents, and we find MREs, and we find leftover ammo. We find grenades. We find an AT-4. We go out and stock ourselves up for whatever's coming because we don't know. Heck, we don't even have a radio. And we're going to be in the back of this thing. I mean, this is crazy. Now, I'm a little on the pissed off side now. So back then, there was always these advertisements on TV about this costs so much and this is priceless. So I pulled the sleeve out of an MRE box. I really did. And I wrote right here on it, powered by Detroit, driven by 11 Bravo. Listen, I can't tell you how much trash and equipment was left behind in that desert. I can't tell you how many things we found. They just threw stuff, thousands of tents in rows for miles, and crap and garbage and gear and just trash. Now, as an old E5, I was like, whatever. I don't care. I took what I needed. As an old E7, I'm just like, talk about nobody having responsibility. Talk about nobody stepping up. Talk about nobody doing anything. I get it. They're the left behinds. Not insulting them. They weren't first. I get it. The people who went first, they trashed the place probably. I don't know. I have no idea. Now, I can say without hesitation, even though down here, millions of dollars worth of personal equipment, ammo, food, and water left behind in these tents. It was a sight to see. It was a sight to see. It was shocking. Waste not, want not, right? Now imagine you've just been given a truck the day before. You have no chain of command. You have a staff sergeant from 214 and another one from an artillery unit because you've linked up with some other people. You've driven around and around and around in the desert to learn how to drive this truck. And you're now in this long line of trucks. This long line, a line so long you better take a camelback full of water just to get to the front. And you don't even know when you're leaving. And you don't know where you're going. And if something happens to you, tough shit. You blow a tire, you're at the end of the road, guess what? You're left in the desert. Remember that left in the desert comment. April 5th, next entry, 0800. Convoy brief was told over a handheld loudspeaker. We are part of a 700 vehicle convoy heading into Iraq. We all mumbled together, no shit. We are part of the third serial. We are now 40 grunts driving 20 trucks headed north into the Iraqi border. Now, at least, end of entry, at least majority of us are 11 Bravos. But there's also some 12 Bravos and some 13. So at least they're combat arms. Okay, so we think we have a little bit of something going on. And we're just sitting there. You know, there's this big freaking sign that says, now leaving Kuwait. No shit. And it's just, you should have seen the speakers and these handheld things. Now remember, we've scrounged our food, we've scrounged our ammo, we've scrounged our water. We're hoping to do the right thing, and we're back at this group. We're in the back of this group. Next entry. Wow, 8 hours into the ride, we've gone 93 miles into Iraq. At this pace, from where we started in Kuwait, it will take 24 hours to get to the first stop. Roads are hell. We slowed to a halt near some Brits, and my TC jumped out and did some trading with them. He swapped some MREs for a pair of Iraqi nods-ish. We are in Mop 1 and full battle rattle, and the Brits are in shorts, wondering who is smarter today. Okay, 143 miles into Iraq. My ass is screaming from sitting on the seat. My legs ache. I need some sleep. End of entry. 12 hours in. 8 hours in, we're at 93 miles. So you're looking at what, 11, 12 miles an hour? It's crazy. It's the slowest slinky I'd ever been in. I'm not going to say in the history of the Army, maybe, I'd ever been in. Right? In the book right here, I have a picture of myself sitting on the roof next to a sergeant from 214 getting ready to go into Iraq. We had to wait for hours, okay? So most of this driving was done at night. We're driving slow enough that I'm sure somewhere in the book, because I always remember this, we literally would just swap, me and the TC, we would take turns driving and climb out on the side of the vehicle and just take a piss. I can imagine that the front truck would stop for who knows how long, and we would never know it. We would never know it. I'm looking at the notes here, not the entry, the notes from the things that I remember. We were joined by other trucks and crews that had been in country longer. They had been moving equipment all over Kuwait. Now they're entering the convoy. The seat cushion on a 510 was a 5-ton is not an expense the Army spent any money on. Creeping at 10 miles an hour. Search hurts like crazy. Peeing bottles until we ran out of bottles, and then we started standing on the side of the truck, like I said. I've thought about this many times. I've worked out the numbers more than once. The vehicle is 27.8 feet long. There are 700 vehicles. That equals 20,667 feet worth of trucks. Then added the average of 50 meters between trucks. Sure, sometimes we were closer. Most of the time we were not. Approximately 6,300 meters if trucks plus. 700 trucks plus 50 meters between each on the first truck would have been 25 miles ahead of us. We got skilled at climbing in and around slow-moving vehicles. We did. Now, in the middle of the night, we stop. There's this mirage of lights. We're tired. We're like blasted tired because driving like this, right? 10 miles an hour. And it's just this massive lights, and we're falling asleep because the trucks are stopping. Like, oh, a minute, I fell asleep. It's a fuel stop. It took a couple of hours to get all these trucks going. We actually fell asleep to the point that somebody actually says right here, tapping on the window, yelling to move forward. You know, we both got out of the truck to walk around and stretch our legs. It's a tough ride, many times less than 10 miles an hour. 143 miles, and we're looking at 15 hours, 16 hours, 17 hours now. We've never stopped except for this fuel thing. What can I tell you? We're in mop suit. We're watching trucks drive the other way in shorts. We have no communication whatsoever with anybody, any way, shape, or form. And I mean any way, shape, or form. We couldn't have told anybody anything. We could have took a casualty and nobody would have known a thing. Not a thing. Nobody would have known nothing. April 6th. 238 miles in 22 hours. It's barely 10-mile-an-hour average. My body aches. Wow, did that suck. Okay, they're calling this area Camp Shell. I was told to download my truck, along with some others. Sure was a lot of wire and burn barrels. Now we're headed to the CP of the 801st to download the rest. We had a CSM stop in front of our trucks as we were trying to leave the camp. He jumped onto the step and yelled at us about the American flag we had hanging in the truck behind our seats. This is not an invasion. We're a liberation force. Take that flag down now. He kept us stopped until it was down and folded and put away. Then he let us go. All trucks are downloaded. We were told where to park them and to relax. We wouldn't be going anywhere soon. We stripped down to PT gear, shorts, made some memory box tables to play some cards and wait for a while for the next mission. End of entry. So 238 miles in, about a week long now, and we're in the middle of the desert. Actually, I have a picture of one of the views here. And I tell you what, as a guy that ended up deploying several more times, I can't tell you how grateful I am that the Iraqis didn't have IEDs yet. They could have wiped out this unit. They could have wiped everybody out. They could have picked us off with ease. There's other convoys that are catching us, and they're making the lines longer. I have no idea how long it got, but I guarantee it was doubled the length by the time we got to this Camp Shell. I can't, they say all the challenges you go through build character. I guess that's why I have so much. I mean, it showed us how to work together. It showed us how to do things. We had a really tough time, right? Next entry. We've rolled up the tarps on the trucks to make it easier to load and unload. I have learned my TC is a real little jerk of a kid. Easy to see why his unit sent him on this mission. Spirits are high. We're goofing off in the desert. Who knows what is next? End of entry. Some of the best sleep I ever had was in those tarps, right? And it was crazy. Crazy good sleep. Now, that entry about my TC being from Hawaii being a jerk, I now look back at that as a retired E7, and I was out of line. I was wrong. He was a kid just like me. I'm just an older kid who didn't know what the heck was going on, went through the same garbage I went through, same lack of communication, same jerk, same everything. And who knows how long, it's 2 weeks. What are we in? It's 2 weeks, 20 days? And to be a young 20-year-old kid-ish and not know anything, he was actually not so bad. I didn't like him then. I think I would have liked him as an E7. Because you know what? He really kept going. Now, here's the next entry. 2030. Woke up from a nap to find the two guys who were on guard around the trucks were awake, but there was no one anywhere. We were alone in the desert. I asked what happened. One of the soldiers said an LT told him to tell us to stay here. They would come back to get us as soon as they needed us. I was like, wow, man, look around. We are alone in Iraq. I woke up the 214 staff sergeant and asked what we are to do. He decided to wait and see if they come back. End of entry. Did you hear what I just said? 16 5-ton trucks left alone in the Iraqi desert. We don't have a single belt-fed weapon. We don't have but a few rounds of ammo that we were able to scrounge up in Tent City, Kuwait, and we're alone. Now, there's a lot of failure here. There's a lot of things that just went foobar. First of all, the privates should have woke up an NCO to grab that lieutenant and go find somebody that actually had been promoted at least twice. Find out something going on. But can you imagine what the sensation was to realize you had been left? Can you imagine what the sensation for me, being an infantry guy who'd already been to Kuwait, already been to Desert Shield and Storm. I'm not saying I did anything. I didn't fire my weapon in Desert Shield and Storm. But the point of it is, we got left alone. We got left in the middle of the desert, no support, no maps, no radios, no first aid, this little kit we had, no ability to do anything. We got left alone. Sometimes I feel like my insides was like that movie Jurassic Park, when that girl's like, they left us, they left us, they left us. There was a piece of me that felt exactly like that. There was a piece of me that was terrified. Like I said, luckily the Iraqis at that time didn't have IEDs, and lucky at that time they didn't have the ability to do anything because we were way past soft target. We were perfect pickings. There could have been 32 MIA soldiers, and nobody would have known. Nobody would have ever known. We would have been just gone. Let's look at the notes I wrote. We parked the trucks in a circle, all of us in the middle. We put up guards. We could see for a long distance. I remember the view was nice. We tried to relax and make the best of it. Those few hours with no one there was long indeed. Right? So we're sort of sitting around. We were unsure what would happen next. We could see the MSR. We could see the road. We knew that Baghdad was that way. We knew where everybody was going. So the two staff sergeant and I made a backup plan that if no one came for us in the morning, we'd get on the road and roll north till we found someone to link up to. That was our plan. We were literally going to sit there, and we did, all night long. Pretty sure we got out of PTs. Okay? Pretty sure we got out of PT uniform and wait to see if somebody came and got us. Just wait. Think about it. You know, I have notes here. It says, I wish I could reach out to the staff sergeant from 214. I got out of line with him more than once. He was younger than I and outranked me, but he was not comfortable making decisions. The guy had analysis paralysis, something fierce. And he would wait a really long time to do something. Me, myself, and a fellow sergeant from 214 were always talking about what to do next. He was so wishy-washy. I literally got pissed at him and asked him, how the fuck did you get promoted to staff sergeant? 2 box tops and a coupon? You're in charge, be in charge. A couple hours later, we went for a walk and we talked it out. I was wrong. I'd work hard to be more supportive over the next few weeks. I swore to never be this kind of staff sergeant. You know, we literally did feel pretty safe. We weren't totally tweaking, but we were tweaking. I mean, we're alone. This is the beginning of an adventure of holy hellness. We're alone. If you're listening to this, do you understand what that feels like? Do you understand what it feels like to take a nap and wake up and you're in a foreign country, that you're part of a liberation force, that you're taking control of by gunpoint, and you've been left alone in the desert, and the people you're with don't want to be in charge, and you don't have quite enough rank to be in charge, but you're trying to figure out how to be in charge, and you don't know how to make these things happen. You don't know what to do. I got left alone in the desert. That was an amazingly crazy sensation. All right, we're going to end right here. All right, we're going to end on that day. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk some more about 7 April and beyond. I thank you for your support. I hope that you're getting something out of this. I'm enjoying telling you the story. My hands are a little sweaty right now because I'm thinking about what I did. But again, thank you for your support. Remember, Veterans Rant, Rattle, and Roll is all about stopping the 22. Preventing 22, ending 22. If that's the one thing we do in Veterans Rant, Rattle, and Roll, then we've done everything. Until the next episode of Forgotten Truckers, Sergeant First Class left in the desert to figure it out on his own, retired David O. Parker, signing off.